All right, so we have two candidates that are going to be speaking today. They're going to be presenting their platforms together. So Ajit and Noah, if you guys are ready, we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah. So Noah and I decided to forego, the really dirty election cycle this year, and we decided to just kind of present ourselves, linearly. Um, so hopefully you guys can get to know more about us tonight. And I'll pass it off to Noah.
Hi, everyone. So just to start off, I'm going to talk about my first year at eBoard a little bit. So for those of you who are newer to GlobeMed and didn't know me that well last year, I was the internal GHU coordinator. So just like this year, just like this year for those who are facilitating it, I facilitated the GHU making process, and some of the topics that we covered included climate change, sleep, vaccines, and even pandemics, which is kind of crazy now that we think about it that we're in one. But hey, that's what GHUs are for. Another important aspect of the GHU process is storytelling. So I just felt that this was worth mentioning because I think I've developed a lot as a person in GlobeMed because of this storytelling experience. And a large part of that storytelling experience is putting others people's voices at the center of the conversation. So we're not focusing on us as an organization, but if we're trying to learn about other people, then we put those people at the center of the narrative.
Yeah. So similarly to how Noah spent his freshman year in the internal GHU committee, and then became the coordinator, I did the same thing except for external. So my sophomore year, me and Sunny, ASAP Sunny, who's here tonight, yeah, we were the directors of the external committee our sophomore year. It was a really cool experience. We learned a lot. We got to take the GHU experience outside of our chapter and onto campus. We learned a lot about how to design events and coordinate with like our committee and the e-board. And we also got to collaborate with campus and community leaders, as well as experts in the fields of healthcare and health equity. So we learned a lot. We got to meet some cool people. It was a great experience. And for context of these pictures, the picture on the right is actually how to pin the condom on the bear cap, a game we created for HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. We have some good videos of that if you're interested. And on the bottom, I included a picture from Summit, which is an opportunity we had our freshman year, which we'll talk about more later.
Okay, so we also were Grow interns last year as well as this year. So this kind of encapsulates our first Grow experience. So at the beginning of the year, it was kind of seen as supposed to be a normal Grow experience where we would end up going on the ground in Thailand to stay with our partner for about 6 weeks and really foster a relationship that way. But because of the pandemic, obviously we could not do that. And so a lot of the things that we normally had planned that were able to be done in person, we had to change very quickly as soon as we found out we couldn't go. So a lot of what we focused on was community building with our partner and improving communication over the course of the year with the pandemic, because those were all things that we could handle online. And I think I speak for both Ajit now when I say we had an exceptional opportunity to learn a lot about the history of our partnership as well, even over virtual space, as well as know more about the needs of SAWS community and the areas of our partnership that need improvement.
Yeah, like Noah said, it was a great opportunity for us, Shaylin, Maria, Sophie, and then also shout out Matthew, because like we really couldn't have done it without him. He really facilitated a lot of our Grow work, and he made it really fun along the way. So this year I was the Grow coordinator. I am the Grow coordinator, and I had the opportunity to like deepen my understanding of our partnership and like anti-oppressive practices in general, and places we can improve in our partnership. I got to work with the partnerships committee a lot this year to better understand their chapter and SAWS history, and I learned right alongside them, so it was awesome. And then, this year we're working with an excellent Grow team to strengthen our partnership with SAW as a chapter. We got a lot of projects in the work, and you'll hear more about those in a few weeks. We're really excited to bring you all into the fold of Grow.
And so for me this year, I am the donor relations coordinator. And a lot of what that meant in the fall semester is that I oversaw the individual giving process. And this year we just tried to make the schedule for that a little bit more concrete and include a little bit more accountability and delegation for that so that people would take more responsibility with individual giving. And it definitely helped a lot for the person that will be in my position next year, for when they have to take on this position, they don't have as much work to do, and they can make sure that everyone is held accountable. Another part of my job was consolidating the email roster for MailChimp. So for those of you who might not know about MailChimp, MailChimp is an email service that we use at GlobeMed to send out a lot of our bigger emails. So a lot of our individual giving was sent out through MailChimp, as well as any emails you might have gotten for a save the date for benefit dinner or the invite for benefit dinner. So with that, obviously we have a lot of different contacts. So I think right now we're up to about 600 contacts. And so when you try to email someone for a specific thing, the best way to do that by their software is to give them a tag. And so it's very hard to go through each individual contact and kind of like tag them with something. But as that a process that we're going to try to continue next year. So that way, whenever there's a giant email that has to go out, it is very simple for the person doing the MailChimp and saves them time. And then finally, this was mostly Kirthana's role, and she did an excellent job this year in this, but I did assist in some of creating the virtual campaigns, as well as coming up with ideas for them and how to follow the logistics. But like I said, that was mostly Kirthana, and I did play a small role in that aspect.
Really quick, can we go back a slide? To give some context to know what this random trash king photo. Pre-COVID times, we would volunteer at Kings Island and sometimes with the Reds and some other opportunities to earn money for SAW, like through these institutions. Yeah, Noah's really just going to leave with trash can and keep going. But for example, one day, Noah and Ellie were on trash duty at Kings Island, and Noah had to get up on the trash compactor and like poke it in with a big old PVC pipe. So he was knighted for that. It was pretty impressive. Another day, Noah and I were in La Rosa's, and basically we got abandoned there by the people who actually worked there, and we ran it. So we got a little taste of the Italian American experience. We learned how to work together really well, and it was a really fun experience. The work itself isn't that fun, but being there with the people in this org is always special. But yeah. So this next part is kind of more about like our place in the network outside of chapter. So this year I am in the student advisory board. So the job that like the SAB is to connect the student network to HQ. I got to create and facilitate some network programming. I got to lead like a best practice sharing space this past Thursday. That was fun. And I got to connect different chapters this year. So it's really cool just kind of meeting a bunch of different people from different chapters, like learning how they work, how their partnerships work, places they want to improve in their partnerships, practices like we can take and implement our own. It's really cool. It's just a really special experience. If you're interested in working with headquarters, talk to me or Shivani. She was a summer fellow this past year and had a great experience. The picture on the bottom is from the SAB, and then the picture on the right is actually me, Noah, and Sam Blizzard at Summit our freshman year. So, it's Sam's birthday, by the way. So if you know him, wish him happy birthday. But Summit our freshman year is really cool. We got to meet a bunch of different people from different networks for the same reasons. It was really formative for us, I think, in our GlobeMed journey. And hopefully, once COVID's over, we can have another one. And there's a lot of things we're looking forward to improving this year. And yeah, the picture of Matthew is just kind of arbitrary, but good vibes. So we want to continue opening more opportunities for community building. Maria and Shaylin did like something really cool this year with creating the Try and Chat spaces. We got to meet a lot of you and get to know you really well. It's been fun. And even as we transition back to like on-campus activities, we can still like focus on the areas of growth we've had this past year. As difficult as virtual can be, there's still like a lot of pros regarding like accessibility and just order, I guess. So that's stuff like want to carry with us this coming year. We also just like every year want to make more intentional recruitment plays, making GlobeMed accessible to like a wider variety of students. It's been great getting to meet so many people this year, all of you included. And we want to give everyone on our campus that same opportunity if they think GlobeMed can be a good space for them. Oh, real quick, we'll want to go back one, just so I left the rest for now.
I'm trying to get it to go back. No. Apologies.
Okay, so continuing on, um, our chapter has a Google Drive that we use to compile kind of everything that we do as a chapter. So, like specifically for me, for like a campaigns aspect, we keep all of our financial data there. We keep all of our GHUs there, all of the things that external needs to plan, all of partnerships presentations, benefit dinner things. So obviously, with all the things that we do as a chapter and all the work we all do, there is a lot of stuff to keep track of. And this is kind of another one of those things that is kind of a reoccurring project every year, but this is something that Ajit and I would like to continue next year, is making this more accessible as well as cleaning it up so it's easier to go through. I will say personally for me, and if anyone else was in campaigns, they would know this as well, but going through the campaigns folder for the first time is very scary and it's terrifying, and it takes almost an entire month to kind of look through it because of how much data is there. So just kind of cleaning it up and making it more accessible for people is definitely a goal of ours. And then kind of also with the fundraising aspect is to continue reevaluating our process for that and our ethics with it. So because of the type of club we are, we have to have certain ethics with how we fundraise. So if we take, for example, our partner organization, SAW, we want to make sure that as we fundraise, we keep them in the best light possible, and that we kind of don't pander or use poverty porn to raise money for them when they're doing everything ethically. And I know that going forward, it has been a goal of ours as a chapter to partner with groups around Cincinnati, as well as team up with organizations on campus. So we think it'd be a great idea if we could just have some, like a concrete document, I guess, to put it, to kind of highlight what those ethics are and those values that we really care about, and to make sure that we are doing the best that we can and we are following our best practices. And then finally, expanding on the storytelling aspect. So as I kind of talked about earlier, storytelling is a very important part of internal, but it is within every other aspect of the committees as well. And I think it's important that we try to center that as much as we can and make sure that we are putting people's voices at the center that are not our own, and that we kind of highlight how other committees are doing that as well.
Yeah, and finally, obviously we both love GlobeMed. Others who wouldn't want to be uh, running for this role. And there's a lot of reasons, but we kind of condensed down to these few, especially. The strong community we have here, full of like really passionate people, full of different ideas, and they're passionate about those different ideas. I feel like I learn something new every time I'm in this space or with any of you. And yeah, and Noah can expand on that specifically.
Yeah. So obviously, with us having such a passionate group of people, our impact reaches very far. So kind of like what Ajit said earlier about him being on SAB, and then as well as Summit, there are a lot of opportunities in GlobeMed to meet other people as well as impact them and have them impact you. And I definitely think that Summit was one of those experiences. Doing some of the volunteering stuff with other e-board members, definitely, and just chapter meetings in general are very impactful to me. And I would like to think that we all have impact on the people in our lives as we go forward. So that is definitely one of the things that I love about GlobeMed for sure, is that not only do we have thoughtful discussions within chapter, but we also make sure to expand that out into the world, which I think is very unique for a college level organization. Kind of going forward, another thing that, at least personally for me, that has been important in my GlobeMed experience has been learning about power dynamics and the partnership model. I think it was probably within the first semester of my first year, like I learned that obviously it made more sense to listen to someone if you're trying to serve them. It's not just you imposing your views on them. And that made sense to me. But I didn't really understand how easy it was to do that unintentionally. And just being made more aware of that is something that I'm very appreciative of GlobeMed for every day. And even recently, like I'm still learning about this like all the time. So like this past weekend, we had a girl module where I learned even more about what my role was in GlobeMed. So I think the term that was used for it was a bridge builder. And so it's like kind of trying to level those power dynamics. So for someone like me, who has like a lot of sources of privilege in my life, just to make sure that I can build those bridges between people and make sure that I'm doing that in the best way possible. And a large part of that is using our partnership model that we have. And I'm going to pass it on to Ajit to finish this out with this final bullet point here.
Yeah, since like the first day I stepped into a GlobeMed meeting, like as a freshman, it's pretty clear this is a special community. Noah and I have met so many great friends and mentors in our time here, and the people like in this room in our chapter are just so full of passion and love. It's been an honor to grow in this space with you all. Whether you're a graduating senior or this is your first meeting, your voice has a positive impact on your peers here and our friends at SAW. So thank you for being part of the GlobeMed family. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And if you have any questions or comments, we would obviously love to hear them. Thanks, guys.